Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Resident Evil 4 with the fan-made HD texture mod. And I suppose that also installs Resident Evil 4 tweaks, which we've used to change the field of view. It's important for me to point that out every time we play because I don't want anybody looking at this game and thinking that it is either the remake that as of this recording has not been released, which it probably wouldn't be confused with that, or some other mod or the actual original game. For the most part, this game feels definitely like it. We are almost done with the castle section, although in all fairness, a lot of the castle section is not castle in this back half or back quarter of the castle act. And really, this should have been more of a 4-act play instead of a 3-act play. We are somewhat short on bullets, which is a consistent constant problem. Our handgun does now have its exclusive 5 times the chance of critical headshots ability. And this is a very memorable, iconic sequence where it is only a slight spoiler to say that this giant robotic statue of Salazar actually starts to chase you down this pit of reflective water slash mercury, which could have been lava, to get back to the lava section. So what we want to do is grab things. You have this different colored flame, which, if anything, it kind of highlights how they're just trying to make things visually look different by having purple flame versus red normal flame. And then you see blue flame when you take on the merchant. Well, you don't take on the merchant, you fight the merchant. So you can't jump over there. You could potentially try and open the door here. So one thought, certainly, if you see all these people here, would be to zoom out and take these guys while they're still trying to do something. Just take this kind of nice and slow and just look for the people you can shoot. Let's maybe zoom back a little bit more to see if we can get any kind of angle there. The angle's quite not right, so I'm hitting the wall even though it shouldn't be hitting the wall. What's funny is how different this experience is, really, compared to what you would have had in the other long hallway. I'm killing people, which maybe means I'm losing some drops, but I'm kind of okay with potentially losing drops. Yeah. They may be infinitely spawning, but there really aren't any even spawn points where enemies could be spawning in this. If anything, it feels like there's a chance that it feels like there's a real chance here that let's go ahead and jump down here first. That there's just a limited number of enemies now. I am 5 times likely to get critical headshots like that, but you do have to actually shoot them in the head to potentially take advantage of that, which that is going to be a limiting factor around just how bad of a player you potentially are, or bad of a shot you are. You could actually be, I guess, a fairly decent player strategy-wise and just a really bad player as far as shots. Seriously. And I am nearly completely dead, so we'll go ahead and use that. Wow, that was quite the fall. They show you basically how many enemies are in this whole area to start with, but they show it in such a way when they first showed up that they weren't in that position after the fact. Alright. You've got to get over here. And there was a great example of getting a headshot, and it's still not, even with a 5 times increase, not leading to a instant kill headshot. We were over there before, and fairly obviously that was not, they weren't there. I keep using these mental tics of fairly obviously as a phrase. So that's everybody. Everybody in the room is killed. You think you're safe. You would have every reason to believe you're safe. Then you could just run down this way. And then you get this cinematic scene where you have to press X, 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 and then left trigger the dodge, then right trigger the dodge, and then both triggers the dodge, and then you're still not safe. You've got to now shoot this and then kick the door out to run here. And you're still not safe. It's still a cutscene. Jump. Climb. More XXX. I think in this case you probably aren't ever going to get an A to run prompt. I think they try to make it always that. And yeah, that's really, really cinematic, but it is also kind of just breaking away from what you normally would have expected from this game. Because you're just not doing a lot of that otherwise. You're not having cinematic scenes of giant things chasing you and having to do cutscenes. You're not having bridges that completely break it, which this inherently is kind of the first place where it's blatantly obvious that you couldn't go back. In the village section, there definitely were sections where you couldn't go back to, but with a few tweaks, this game definitely could have been more open in a sense that you could have gone back if you felt the need to go back. The question is, why would you have ever felt the need to go back? And what's funny is if you look at the map, it indicates that there is a stairway under you, I guess, or above you, and it's way up there. We defeated the right hand of Salazar, so we still have the left hand.
You again.
The sacred rite that's about to begin at this tower shall endow the girl with magnificent power. She will join us, become one of us.
This is no ritual. It's terrorism.
Isn't that a popular word these days? Not to worry. We've prepared a special ritual for you.
And so you throw your knife into his hand, which is a different kind of cutscene with no quick time events. Oh, nope, there is a quick time event.
Stop!
I think they honestly do believe that there is something to the ritual. Otherwise, they would have just infected her with the Las Plagas and let her back to America, and they would have let Leon succeed at sending her back to America. Yes, a yellow orb. I should have mixed it with the red one. Oh well. We need potentially 2 to 4 more of these. Before we're fully done. Can't do anything with that. Yeah, 2 or 4 more yellow herbs until we can. We're at full health, and then in a New Game Plus playthrough you would consider maybe doing Ashley and getting her well, that's the wrong phrase, leveling up Ashley's health, which it's not that important because you really only play with Ashley for a brief amount of time. There's our Donkey Kong reference. Which, noticeably, I don't know if this is a case where I am at the spot I'm thinking about, or if there's actually section like this where you go up a tower in Resident Evil 5. Yeah. There definitely was some copycatting going on, for lack of a better term, in Resident Evil 5. It's not super surprising that they would take one of their best-selling, most successful games and try and do the same idea twice. Alright, we can do this and just go ahead and use that. Yeah, it looks like we're going to need 3 more yellow herbs to get our health to the max. I guess actively the question here would be, do we even have any bullets for this? No. Can I find the guy? Can I find the guy that's pulling the lever? I think the answer is probably no. It feels like that was a different pickup. Climb up here. And I just have no idea if these are actually hitting anybody. Alright, and we're out of bullets for that. My general idea was that I don't have anything here. My general thought was we kill this guy and there might be some big reward for that. Or at the very least, maybe this guy convinces nobody else to chase after me from the bottom part, so I'm potentially not going to get squished in. This is really just a great example of having very few bullets, and this is why you really want to... Yeah, this is the section I was thinking about. Yeah, you would really either have to play the game in a very different way than I ever play it to have bullets at this section, or you want to have the rocket launcher with you, and that's why I carry the rocket launcher with me always to this. You'd think also you'd be able to climb up here and maybe find something extra there, but no. Want to check the map and make sure I've already gotten the treasure. No, I haven't. So I don't think I've missed the treasure, I just think it's higher up. So you have to push these boxes off, and normally that would be when the guy is throwing dynamite at you. And then you get on this elevator lift, and I think the general idea is that people are either going to shoot at you or jump on. Just a lot of red robes here. Is it an infinite number of red robes? I don't think so, but I'm not certain. The red robes are unique in that they don't tend to give you as much problems as far as trying to shoot things. Alright. Let's see. There's only one way. You can't jump across, can't do anything here. If anything, I would say this tower section really should have been in a different point in the game. It drains your bullets very badly, creating a boss fight that's not as much difficult because of the actual amount of health or damage he gives, as much as it is just a boss fight that is difficult because you are going to inevitably have no bullets. Unless you're playing the game New Game Plus style, and then at that point all your guns are so well powered that you're getting headshots like crazy. Even now we're getting headshots and one-shot kills fairly frequently. Then the treasure is kind of awkwardly hidden down this way. And it's just a gold bangle. It could have been a butterfly lamp, but it wasn't. Go ahead and do that. And I am going to have to kind of think about the whole rocket launcher section in a second here. Okay, I really don't have enough bullets for much of anything. So I'm going to just stick with my shotgun and reload it now and move forward. You have, again, a metallic electronic elevator here instead of Renaissance Castle era technology. And I just kind of question if the boss fight is in here, which it may be. The boss fight may be at the top of this tower, and then the rest of this may be kind of unnecessary stuff. You can see there's a first aid spray and all kinds of ammo, including magnum ammo. Yeah, it does not turn around. In a more modern game, he probably would turn around to look at you. But it's kind of nice that it's a little bit more subtle than that. The handgun, by the way, at its full maximum is worth 100,000 pesetas. So if I did for some reason want to get rid of it, you could get some amount of money back. But I imagine I put a lot more money into it than 100,000.
Thank you. Is that old? Thank you. Is that old? Thank you. What are you buying?
Okay. No capacity on that. Special on that we can't afford. And we could upgrade reload speed on that. Which effectively means we shouldn't spend any money at all. Except for maybe on the first aid spray.
Anytime.
And the general hope here is that if I recall this correctly, I should be able to do this. But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do this instead, because I may shoot the rocket launcher and then need to I may need to shoot the rocket if it gets caught by the other guy, which maybe is what happens.
You just missed her. The ritual is over. She left with my men to an island.
What?
Just an island. And so this is the whole third act that's like, okay, we've now taken them to an island after doing the ritual.
I think it's time I paid my due respects towards your impressive and stubborn will. Mr. Kennedy, welcome.
So this big flower, I guess, is the hive mind, or at least an important factor in the Las Plagas. So there's almost this whole interconnected element here. And then the left hand is just like not anything at all. Alright. So you got this big grotesque eyeball that you want to damage, and then you've got these big tentacles. And then back behind that, you have the boy merging into a monster.
Guess after this, there'll be one less to worry about.
I want you to suffer just like Ashley. That tickles. You deserve.
Alright. Here we go. Alright, so the handgun may not be necessary at all. We're probably just going to get killed if you get eaten at all. Let's go ahead and skip all of that. You can jump down here and try and attack and do all kinds of other things too, but mostly I think what we have to do is just wait until it opens. Like, it has to open, and you have to hit the guy. I guess the experiment here would be to just try the rocket launcher before it hits. Also, we could certainly waste a health just to get our health higher. So, yeah, that didn't work. Yeah, I just don't remember how to play this. Like, I know it's a rocket launcher is the real solution, but there's something else to it, so let's possibly run around here and get a general feeling. I think this highlights kind of the problem of being in the lower section, is that they will just shoot out these little characters at you, which that's not that helpful. And yeah, I don't think he's gonna open up. Let's see. There's just different attack patterns and things. I don't know if a lot of this you even see. Okay. So my best guess as far as how this really is supposed to play out is probably we need to do something closer to this, and then just eye him a lot. Try and get as many shots as possible in the eye, even if it's not doing that much damage. Maybe you just can't pull it off. And notice that the game's not getting much easier here. Maybe because I'm playing at a higher difficulty setting. Yeah, this is the point. That's what I was going for. Is find your shot and just rocket launch the guy and kill him. Otherwise, it would just be a lot of bullets and then like a broken butterfly type fight or something. This inevitably frees up your inventory quite a bit now, in that you are not having to deal with that. It would be a little unfair if the game let you stay around here long enough for him to like respawn, but that's not gonna happen. I don't think you get a bunch of gold or anything from this fight. May not get anything at all. And yeah, this is just an example being prepared and playing strategically instead of playing the way they probably wanted you to play in your first playthrough, which would have been to struggle. Yeah, 50,000 gold. But the problem there with the struggle is I just didn't have enough bullets. It just wouldn't have been a fair experience in any way. And you won't have enough bullets because of in my opinion, I can be an actual critic here instead of just nostalgically playing the game. This is probably the worst placed boss battle compared to the tower being right next to it. There's nothing really in the tower that would have allowed you to save up bullets. And you almost would think that would be some kind of special treasure chest, but it isn't, because there should be no more treasures at all. You would kind of think that the yellow flowers, the yellow herbs that increase your health, would be more connected to beating bosses, but it isn't. And this is a different skybox, but it's clearly not that finished because it's just clouds and a nether castle. They just wanted, I guess, to use the animation that they made once before. And I guess the same is true. They wanted to once again have a snake. Just not really getting the most use out of. Clearly these snakes have a direction they want to go. How many bullets can we waste trying to shoot a snake? For a brown chicken egg, which is better than a white chicken egg, but not by much. The idea of double swiping still makes a lot of sense, but for most of the castle it is a waste of time. And then we have a rusty elevator. There's like 2 different textures for these elevators. And then the rusty elevator is taking us downward even further, back into the sewers, which really highlights how this section of the game really should have been different environments, and they definitely would have been different environments before. And I guess their thought process is that it's an interesting shadow happening there. I guess their thought process is that the boss battle would have drained your bullets, but you would have had drained bullets at that point. But it's just never how it works for me. And I can't really imagine a way that it would work for most players.
Is that all?
At this point, I could sell the green eyes, red eyes, and blue eyes. That would get me almost 5,000. So I should think about that.
What are you buying?
We probably won't have much more to buy in the rest of the game. I think we find a scope that we need. I don't think you buy it. there will be a treasure map for the island.
What are you buying?
And that's it. Significantly increase the destructive power for long distance targets, which then makes your shotgun as useful as anything else.
Is that all? Thank you.
Increase firepower beyond its threshold for 100,000. Before we upgrade the capacity on the mine thrower, we should think about that. Our handgun is already at the max, so we won't do anything there. Our broken butterfly won't really be that useful. Where it could come into play is with maybe a couple strong characters, but we're kind of past the point where we'd run into that. Plus the number of bullets you're going to ever have around the broken butterfly. Whereas this has a real argument around it. Is you're going to constantly get the shotgun shells. So mine thrower capacity we should do, and then the others we should do. And I'm not sure we can really afford all of that, but
what are you buying?
Mine thrower for 40,000.
Is that all, stranger? Thank
upgrades
you.
That.
Is that all, stranger?
And upgrades that.
Thank you.
Which the mine thrower, if it has an exclusive now, is not unlocked. So we would like 40,000. Is there really a way we could have had 40,000 at this point?
What are you selling?
Not really. If I had done all 3 of the bottle cap challenges, I would have 40,000. But that's pretty much it. And since we know that we won't get any more upgrades on that for a while, we can upgrade that. Since we know we won't ever get any more capacity upgrades on that, we can reload that. If I find any more magnum ammo, I should probably reload this. And since we know we won't get any capacity upgrades on this, we should reload that. And then make at least 2 of these. Which the sad statement here definitely is that we have some need for as many things as we've got. Let's sell 2 flash grenades. We'll sell 3 flash grenades just to make room. Selling TMP ammo doesn't make a lot of sense. If anything, we should just stock up on our TMP ammo, and for when we run out of handgun ammo, and then get the exclusive on that. Yep.
What are you selling?
Let's see.
Is that all? Thank you.
Okay. We may be fairly well situated now for the at least beginning half of the next act. almost walked right past this. And I don't know if there's the best reason to save right now, because I think you just walk through this area and then you very possibly don't even run into somebody. Well, you run into Ada Wong, but you don't run into any enemies.
Need a ride, handsome?
Okay.
So pretty much if Ada Wong hadn't saved you, there is a good chance that you wouldn't have actually succeeded in this whole story. And hit ratios better than average. I am starting to average very much down to like 50%. Although, you know, how it calculates the hit ratio may be a little wrong too, because I may be shooting people with the rifle and then hitting the wall behind it and that being counted as a miss as much as a hit. 25 times over in total being killed is a ridiculously high amount. And yeah, we're 15 hours into a game, which is I guess about a 20-hour game. After killing Sadler, she totally leaves you here.
Got some business to take care of. See you later.
There you can see her leg, and again, perhaps I would assume in the cutscenes the field of view is the same, but maybe not. Maybe you saw a little bit more leg this time than you would have otherwise. I can't help but feel like there was some version of this game where the cutscenes were slightly censored, zoomed in more.
Sadler, why don't you give up and let Ashley go home?
Perhaps you are disillusioned with overconfidence, just because you killed my small-time subordinate.
Sadler, you're small time.
No. Writhe in my cage of torment, my friend.
These are ridiculous, terrible dialogue still, but I guess that confirms the thing you would question is why can't we get back in contact with our HQ and ask for assistance, call for help. Honestly, there is a real question as to why you didn't call for help to start with. And yeah, the HD mod, again on rocks, is not going to do anything. So now that we're on the island, you're going to see a lot of rocks. You're going to see a lot of military type barricades and almost like World War II type buildings. The enemies are noticeably harder. I would say definitely significantly harder in the island. This is some group of military people who are infected with the Las Plagas, which you have to just assume that they're infecting anybody and everybody they can. Here we can hear Ashley yelling for help, calling for Leon. It's, I think, a little bit more time before you get back with Ashley. Even though we do hear her. Basically, you just see her getting dragged through doorways and walked away. Which is weird that when the storyline dictates it, it's perfectly fine for Ashley to be captured and taken away. But when you just are playing badly and the average Ganado grabs Ashley, it's not acceptable. And it's a game over. So there's a real inconsistency there. guess that's supposed to just be a window that would have shown you here. I just got an emerald, but I think emeralds are not really treasures. I don't know how you really would have gotten up in that area. This cave area is kind of like that small cave section in the village. Part of the problem definitely is that they had her tied up before and now she's not tied up. I don't know why. And you just immediately get spotted. Alright. I guess the question here is... So, new skins, which arguably some of these heads could have been in the village to give more variety as far as what the enemies were in the village, but they chose not to do that. I'm gonna try and play this smooth and play this careful. There is a real puzzle here as far as tilting the lanterns. Let's find this guy. Where is he? I can't see him. And so you can kind of crouch down without actually crouching down. So, mine launcher not going to work particularly well there. We need a fast shooting gun, so we're going to have to use the TMP to trigger that guy. And again, I'm assuming that there really is no stealth here, even though there would have been potentially a thought of having stealth. And these guys move so slow compared to Resident Evil 5 zombies. Just so you can address the fact that the game is rough. I guess the question is, let's risk it here with the broken butterfly. And this guy is a strong enough character to justify using the broken butterfly on. Knocked his hat off. Just a bunch of posadas on him. Not any. I feel like there's probably a guy behind me. Is this an infinite number of guys? This zapper characters are pains in the butt. They hurt you a decent amount. It almost feels like the game is trying to teach you that it is going to be an infinite spawning section of enemies. There definitely feels like there are critical shots, headshots, on the Las Plagas characters also, which I think does lead to you still trying to take out those guys with headshots. I think when they're stammered like that though, that's probably the point where headshots don't count. So definitely noticeable at this point just where the 5 times headshot comes into being useful. I don't think I'm quite ready to do this yet. I think you have to start somewhere else. And the somewhere else is the part that's getting me. I don't think it's this one either. This is the same concept being done again, although this time it is actually full like rotation happening instead of just pressing a button in the insect hive. There you go. So you had to start the laser first. Then you have to come adjust this one. And now you can reflect. There. And this is kind of a great section that just would highlight where if you were speedrunning this, you would just run through this and not even fight any of the enemies, and that just doesn't lead to any kind of completionist or realistic strategy as far as actually playing the game or getting better at the game. Let's see, hitting all of that with lasers does nothing. I don't think these lasers are even dangerous. I can definitely see why the insect area would have been impossible to spin those in time and get out of there. So they switched it to buttons and then took their original concept of the spinning mirrors. Yep, the lasers don't do anything to you. So there we have another rock being tossed at us, just running through all the greatest hits, I guess, of what the game has been up until this point. Just to remind you that, yes, these gimmicks, we thought of them, and we may bring them back at any point. Although, in all fairness, They kind of only bring him back once. Man. The extra armor that all of these characters have definitely leads to you having to spend twice as many bullets on everything. Just use a green herb. Could have eaten the brown egg, but it's probably better to actually... Probably is better to actually eat the brown egg, or sell the brown egg. And so yeah, you suppose, I guess, would have looked through this window and seen those treasures and gone back and gotten that one gem. But this actually leaves the whole area. And there's another emerald. We can hear a bunch of zapping. I'm looking for a save point. We may be somewhat far away from the save point. Like, we haven't bought the treasure map, but by default we do have the regular map. So they really never wanted you to get lost in this game. Which, in all fairness, it doesn't benefit the game at all if you had gotten lost. You can't cut the tarp on these tents, military type tents. And I guess we will just take some more time. There's definitely a feel here that these enemies could have been shooting at you more often from higher vantage points. So they are dropping the ball as far as trying to actually kill me. See, I think there's just a slight safety in jumping through the window. They are wearing gas masks as a way of hiding their repetitive faces, which is intriguing. There's something about this room that I don't remember. A lot of supply crates and such. It's probably the gun I want to use. Ah, yes, there's a treasure here. That is a golden lynx. And then there's some textures here that very possibly were just not in the game, and this is fan-made. But this does start to show like a human heart sacrifice, Las Plagas cult that potentially existed in this game well before that point. This is kind of a unique little window too, in that it's not square or as big as any of the other windows in the game. You should also see if we can combine this with this. No. What does this say? Although small in size, it's a precious gem. A golden statue with 3 holes. And this is not going to be it, even though blue eye, red eye, and green eye would make a lot of sense. There's definitely a different way they could have gone about having the gem drops so that some of those gems would be more reusable. If you just had a little bit more TMP ammo dropping every now and then. The rocket launcher guy. Well, I just got wrecked by that. Really heavy firepower here. Yeah, once your TMP can do a decent amount of damage, and again, it just feels like you should be able to shoot something down here, or maybe see something you missed. But yeah, once your TMP can do decent amounts of damage, then they actually do become, it becomes a viable replacement for your handgun when you're out of handgun ammo, which happens fairly frequently. I thought there might be something in that, but I guess not. And so I'm just carefully feathering my TMP to shoot in bursts. There still are a lot of attacks that these guys are doing that just kind of don't work. Like that barrel there, I don't know how you would have shot that barrel and potentially let me not hit myself. Right. Is there anything in the sewer over here? No. I could have sworn that there was a spindle in that, but I may be thinking of a different area. Then we wanted to go over here because there's this and this. Just trying to get every item. Arguably, in the remake of this game, there is a potential need to like create a more flexible system. If I missed 80%, if I only collected 80% of the collectibles in this game and missed 20%, I think you're doing pretty bad at that point. If you only picked up 50% of the collectibles, that would be pretty awful. Yeah. If you were trying to run and gun through this game like you can in so many other games, I could see you really, really hurting yourself and hitting just difficulty spikes. And yeah, almost certainly the remake will make some adjustments for that. When somebody drops gold and the gold despawns, the next time you pick up gold, you get more gold to balance that out. When you start to run low on bullets, you then start to pick up more bullets to account for that. There isn't practically anything here that I could upgrade capacity on, which is probably fine because
rare things on. What are you buying?
I probably don't
Is that all, stranger? Thank you.
have any other thought. Killer 7 is the name of another game. I'm not sure if anybody actually worked on Killer 7 that worked on Resident Evil 5, but yeah. A very stable yet powerful Magnum 4.5 Magnum. So maybe there would be an argument to getting the Killer 7. Like in a second playthrough, which I think I'm potentially slowly boiling myself down to just deciding that I do want to play a second playthrough at some point in the future. Although probably not immediately after just playing the game, which is really when you would need to do that. 600 for that to get rid of it. We can sell an emerald.
Thank you. Is that all? Thank you.
We could save ourselves some frustration, and yeah, at this point I'm not going to run into any more lanterns.
Is that all?
So you sell those.
Thank you.
You definitely don't sell the gold links until you get the other components.
What are you buying?
We can't get any more health kits, and even if we could, that'd be crazy. And there really isn't a reason why you buy a rocket launcher.
What are you
The fact
buying?
that I even bought one rocket launcher in this game is actually insanity. Right. Exclusive, add homing to the mining darts, significantly increase the blast radius for the mine thrower. Increase the firepower well beyond the weapon's threshold, or significantly increase the destructive power.
Thank
We'll
you.
go significantly increase the destructive power. So, handgun does 2.0, 5 times the chance of a critical headshot. You use that for the first half of the game, basically. Shotgun now works at a distance, so so you no longer have to only think of it as a short-range gun. The rifle, when it is fully upgraded, would be more powerful. The shotgun does 8 damage. The handgun does 2 damage. The rifle potentially is going to do 24 damage, which is going to put it temporarily at higher damage than what the broken butterfly can do. And then the TMP is probably going to go to 2.4 damage if I was to guess. And the mine thrower is just around so that we get mine darts. There's no other gun here that uses a different kind of bullet. Yep. But the mine thrower is a fairly useless weapon. Like you really would have to know what's coming first and foremost, and most of the time you're not going to know what's coming. and then you would have to be in a unique spot. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Broken Butterfly, even before it hits the exclusive, gets its firepower upgraded to 30 damage. But some of these numbers actually don't matter as much as it would seem, because you are inherently still going to need 2 shots to kill a lot of enemies. And that's just how it's going to boil down. Like, very rarely are you going to be able to get a one-hit kill, even with the Broken Butterfly. It's only the rocket launcher. And maybe there is room for more balance so that would not be the case. Yep. We will find the last of the shooting galleries on the island, and then at that point I could think about trying to get all the bottle caps for an achievement. There actually are only 5 achievements left in this game, and only 6 achievements that I've unlocked. Although I think one of the achievements is actually just like unlocking a lot of stuff, beating the game on its hardest difficulty, which is not the difficulty I think we're playing on, and maybe even getting S ranks, maybe not. So there may be one lingering achievement that's just pretty much impossible to get, where the others are just storyline achievements. This would have been a game that was actually before achievements were even a thing, and then they were added later. And you would think that the island was fairly small by the looks of this map, but it isn't. It's actually very long. What happens is you go up these stairs, and then you're on another level, as far as a elevated level. And I don't know if it really benefits the player in any way to indicate or pretend like the game is going to be short, and that the island is going to be this like short wrap-up experience. Files. We have 1 communication log. It's just what was said before for the island. And then we had a ton of castle files, none of which really matter, and they pretty much never mention Lewis again in the game. So that just seals his coffin, really, as far as just how unimportant of a character he really is. And I guess that's pretty much all there is to say. Once again, we're not having the micro stuttering issue. I haven't seen a single micro stutter. I've seen 3 or 4 points where the game feels like it may have gotten a little bit wonky and hitched up. Arguably that might just be a small memory leak that happens by leaving the game running. But no other real performance issues except for the fact that the controller layout and the dead zones on the controllers are pretty awful, and it would be nice in the remake for much tighter controls, probably some aim assist because you're playing on the controller anyways, and less deaths certainly when playing on normal. Although honestly these days I play almost every game on easy, and I never really tried to challenge myself much on video games. I'd rather play 2 video games on easy than 1 video game on normal at any point. So there is definitely a case here where better players would be playing on mouse and keyboard, or they'd be playing with a controller and not dying 25 times. The fan-made HD graphics are still doing as good as they can, but I will say the island is very dark and has very natural rocky textures, and instead of the bright colorful Renaissance painting textures that you saw in the castle, they really blew their budget visually on the castle section, and then the island section feels like it's almost animated by a completely different team, which it very possibly was. I wouldn't be surprised if there was one subdivision of Capcom doing the village in parallel with some other subdivision doing the castle, in parallel with another subdivision doing the island. I wouldn't even be surprised if actually a lot of this wasn't actually made by Capcom in the first place, and it was a third-party developer that just isn't really mentioned that much, that worked on a lot of this content. Japanese companies in particular are notorious for not crediting third-party developers, and a lot of game companies don't really credit third-party developers to the level that they probably deserve. But that's just baseless speculation on my part. But yeah, while we go through the island, we'll see that the island is fairly slow, and that you could have taken a third of the locations out of the island and maybe a third of the locations of the castle and made a fourth act of a sewer underground mine area, and that could have been its own separate thing with a different bad guy and a different character. It could have been the left hand instead of the right hand, although it would have been redundant to fight two of those guys, insect characters. Or you could have had a big surprise plant monster and fight Sadler in two separate fights. It is interesting how few bad guy characters there are in Resident Evil 4 compared to Resident Evil 5, where there's quite a few bad guy characters that show up in 5, and they come and go perhaps a little too fast in 5, whereas there really is just the village chief leader character that we've completely forgotten about as the final boss in the village section, and then there's Sadler as the final boss in the there's Salazar as the final boss in the castle section, and then Sadler is the final boss in the island, obviously, in the whole game. So there are like 3 named bad guys in this whole game. You get one surprise bad guy as a sub-boss, and that's pretty much it. Whereas in Resident Evil 5, there's a lady that turns into a monster, I think. There's a guns dealer that turns into a monster. I think there's one of Sheva's team gets turned into a monster at some point. There is a laboratory experiment monster character that I guess maybe isn't that interesting of a character. There's definitely a returning female friend that's been taken over and brainwashed in 5, and then there's Wesker in 5. So it does seem like there's about 6 or 7 named humanoid looking characters that have kind of personalities and that you talk to before you fight them, or before they turn into monsters in Resident Evil 5 or 4. 4 is better level design but worse character design, so there was potentially a trade-off there. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good